The Caldera by Edwina Longbottom, Prologue, Beneath the Surface.
Yet Groma out.
They called it beautiful, a wilderness untouched, steam rising through pines, hot springs shimmering like sapphire eyes. Yellowstone, they said, was a wonder, a park, a treasure. But beneath the beauty, heat, pressure, silence, holding its breath.
Field log, March 8th, 05:42 a.m., no visible animal movement on the ridge. That's the third consecutive day. Gas sensors at Station Bravo are showing an uptick in sulfur dioxide roughly 40 above baseline. We've also recorded a new set of harmonic tremors, shallow, unstable. I'll request a drone sweep by noon. Something's off.
They said it was early thaw, bears coming down too soon, elk skittish, birds gone. But I've worked this land 15 years. Snow melt don't smell like this. Rotten eggs in the air, ground too warm, river foam thicker than it should be. Nature's not confused. It's scared. We're swarming.
Just had another spike, 142 microseisms in the last hour. The magma dome's rising again. I've submitted a phase yellow warning to the Bureau, but I doubt they'll escalate. Not without visible surface deformation.
I swear, they'll wait until a bison melts before doing anything.
Across the country, in a fortified sublevel of the U.S. Geological Survey building in Reston, Virginia, a red notification blinked. It wasn't labeled Eruption. It read, Deviation Alert, Caldera uplift 1.3 meters, unmodeled behavior.
What's the likelihood this is another false cycle?
It's not cyclical anymore. It's progressive. We're moving into uncharted ground.
Then initiate early-stage continuity drills. Quietly, no public release until confirmed threat.
That could cost days of evacuation time if this escalates.
Do it. And if word leaks, I want contingency media plans in place. We cannot afford national panic over a volcano goal.
They had their data, they had their maps, they had a plan. What they didn't have was time, because deep beneath Yellowstone, the Earth had already begun to breathe. Chapter 1, Warnings Ignored, or rather send, March 9th. The sun hadn't yet breached the mountains, but Yellowstone was already stirring. Beneath the still snowpack and steaming vents, something deep and ancient was shifting. Not enough to notice, not yet, but enough to be recorded. If anyone was still listening.
Field log, March 9th, 0613. Seismic activity has increased again overnight, 226 events in the 0.2 magnitude range. We were starting to see signal overlap, which indicates clustering. Uplift at Station Delta has passed 1.5 meters. That's not normal. Requested escalation to phase orange. Rejected again.
I'm sending samples to the Missoula lab myself. Something's wrong here.
Dr. Lena Harrow had been stationed at Yellowstone's western rim for 18 months. A postdoctoral volcanologist from MIT, she'd arrived expecting routine monitoring, maybe the occasional tremor. Not this silence, not this many birds missing from the sky. Dispatch, this is Ranger Jack Tanner, South Ridge Patrol. Copy?
Go ahead, Jack.
I've got 20, maybe 30 elk. Dead, no visible trauma, clustered near the thermal runoff at Hollow Creek. That's just outside the exclusion fence.
Could be wolves?
Wolves don't leave them untouched. No blood, no struggle. I'm checking CO levels.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Sensor as off the charts.
Jack, that's a restricted zone. Back out of there now.
Tell that to the elk. Tell that more forward tour. By noon, the animal deaths had doubled. The Park Service logged them as likely gas exposure. But gas emissions that strong should have set off alerts. Only they hadn't. Lena's monitoring system had gone offline at 9:42 a.m. The error logs were wiped clean.
Why would the telemetry be scrubbed? It's not a power outage. No failsafes kicked in.
Server ping returns dead. It's like the whole system vanished.
Or someone pulled it.
At 4:18 p.m., in a conference room buried beneath the Eisenhower Executive Office Building in D.C., a group of 12 men and women sat in silence, watching satellite images update in real time. Ground inflation is accelerating. We've exceeded the 2004 uplift rate by a factor of 6. That's a risk, not a certainty.
We don't wait for certainty. We prepare for threat.
If we issue a national alert, the panic alone could cause deaths, supermarket riots, highway gridlock, civil unrest.
Then we don't issue a public alert.
The National Defense Continuity Framework recommends silent staging at this phase. quiet evac of strategic assets, relocate continuity personnel to fallback facilities.
Do it and keep it off the news cycle.
That evening, 45 families tied to senior Pentagon and FEMA officials received last-minute vacation offers. Private flights left quietly from D.C., Dallas, and Sacramento. No one said the word evacuation. Maya Sloan sat at the edge of a window booth in Bozeman, Montana, sipping burnt coffee from a paper cup and reviewing a tip email flagged urgent. Subject line, "They knew."
No sender, no reply option, just a link.
A document opened. FEMA letterhead. Yellowstone National Park Emergency Contingency Planning Phase Red. FEMA letterhead.
The file listed underground shelters, satellite reroute codes, evacuation priorities by income bracket, no mention of public disclosure. In the corner, a timestamp March 3rd, they'd known for nearly a week.
You bastards knew.
It's rising too fast. This isn't a long-term cycle. It's a trigger. Our port's a trigger.
Beneath the park, magma surged, invisible to tourists, hidden from satellites, but it was moving, and soon it would rise. Nor Rafe, lust stenth, couldn't save a single one.
Even the calves. Jack Tanner crouched beside a collapsed elk calf, its eyes wide, mouth frozen mid-gasp. He pressed a CO sensor into the soft earth. The needle leapt.
It's not just leaking, it's venting.
Ground's unstable, hot, like there's something under it breathing.
Back at the monitoring trailer, Lena Harrow had overridden the secure firewall and reconnected her station to a private server in Missoula. A stream of raw seismic data returned. The graphs didn't make sense. She watched a tremor pattern build, rise, flatten, then vanish.
No, that's not tectonic. That's pressure buildup followed by suppression. Something's capping the release, but it's still rising underneath. Orng.
By 8:45 p.m., Lena placed a secure call to Dr. Ellis Cho at USGS headquarters.
Ellis, I've got seismic echoing on 3 stations. Possible magma intrusion under Norris Basin. This isn't a drill.
Lena, we've got eyes on it. You were not authorized to disseminate above yellow.
I don't give a damn about color codes. If this goes vertical, you're going to have boiling rock shooting 10 miles up the sky. We've got uplift, gas, wildlife death.
Shut it down, that's not a request.
You were not warning them, are you?
Don't make this harder than it has to be. Morber smover going. 10 minutes later, Lena's server access was revoked. Her data stream went black. Cell signal? Gone. Outside, the stars were missing. Ash, too fine to see, had begun drifting silently down. Maya Sloan traced the document to a private DoD repository via IP bounce. Classified redundancy drills, shadow airfields, names, passenger lists. She froze on one entry. Harper Sloan, Department of Agriculture, her sister. She hadn't spoken to her in 3 years.
You made the list.
I didn't tea. Gorleatherity cell.
In Washington, the president reviewed a short list of critical infrastructure facilities requiring immediate fortification. Among them, Fort Greely, Raven Rock, Site R. All of them far, far from the ash path.
Give me a projection. Worst case.
20,000 fatalities within 72 hours, millions if the ash cloud spreads across the Midwest. Agriculture collapse, water system contamination, and 1/3 of the U.S. may become uninhabitable by winter.
Any hope this fizzles?
Not at this stage. You're standing on a loaded gun, and the safety's off. In the early hours of March 10th, just before dawn, seismic station Echo 14 went offline. Then Echo 15, then 16. The final transmission read, surface deformation exceeds predictive model, dome breach possible.
Oh God.
They've awaited too long. They've awaited too long.
Dispatch, this is Ranger Tanner. There's a new fissure forming north of Hollow Creek. I need confirmation from geologists. It's venting steam now.
Dispatch, anyone there? Nomad Minja killing.
The silence was different now. Not peaceful, not empty. It was a silence held tight like breath, waiting, watching.
Lena paced the trailer in the dark, lit only by the glow of her emergency console and the orange blink of a manual override alarm. They shut everything down remotely. Cell tower access, SatLink, even the goddamn walkie frequency.
But you can shut down analog. She retrieved a boxy, dust-covered ham radio from under the old map cabinet and plugged it into a spare generator jack.
Let's see who's still listening. And our arsenal goes forward.
In a nearby ranger station, Jack Tanner poured gas into a snowmobile by flashlight. His truck had seized ash clogging the air intake and visibility was dropping. He wore goggles, a breathing mask, and a sidearm. Not standard issue, but he wasn't taking chances. If you were going to blow, old girl, at least let me get to the valley first. He fired up the engine and headed north toward the hot zone. And source mummy get to the valley zone. Maya was recording audio logs now. If her story never got published, she wanted someone to hear the truth.
U3:27 a.m. Bozeman shows tremors on the Montana State University feed, not reflected on public USGS site. An internal whistleblower sent me additional PDFs, phase codes, evacuation maps, and something else. A single sheet with coordinates circled in red. Yellowstone, obviously. But over it, handwritten, "Do not let them bury her."
At 3:42 a.m., the first human casualties were recorded. 3 hikers, wild camping beyond the legal zone boundary, were found suffocated near Mammoth Springs, eyes wide open, skin dusted with fine ash. Official cause unknown.
Get me NORAD. I want Site R prepped for command fallback. If this escalates, we move the line of succession underground.
Already underway, ma'am. I suggest we relocate you within the hour.
And leave the American people behind.
We already have, ma'am. Far below the park, miles beneath the thermal crust, the pressure had reached critical mass. Gas, heat, magma, all channeled toward a single weak point. It would not wait much longer when Calmorn.
Mayday, Mayday, this is Lena Harrow, USGS. Yellowstone Caldera is showing imminent deformation breach. Do you copy?
Copy, Lena? You were not supposed to. They're blacking it out.
Tell whoever you can. This is real. This is happening. We've got hours, maybe less. Tell them to get out. Tell them to get out.
In Washington, beneath 6 layers of concrete and encryption, emergency AI systems were already redirecting traffic away from Yellowstone. No one was told why. No one would be. Jack crested the ridge and braked hard. Ahead, in the valley below, the forest had gone still. Steam was venting in unnatural columns across the basin, lit faintly by moonlight. Then a noise, a deep, resonant crack, like the earth groaning. Oh hell! He watched a wide fissure open slowly, methodically, from left to right, slicing across the landscape like a zipper tearing open.
It's starting.
The earth did not roar, not yet, but the pressure had been breached and the caldera was waking. Chapter 2, The First Break. March 10th. First light broke over Yellowstone like a slow confession, gray, heavy, and silent. The park should have been alive with movement. Tour buses, campers, sunrise hikes. Instead, there was only the low whine of geothermal vents and a strange, falling dust that wasn't snow. Dispatch, this is Tanner again. Hollow Creek fissure has widened, at least 10 meters across now. Trees are going under.
Dispatch. Damn it, where the hell are you? The radio crackled once, then silence. Jack cut the engine and listened. No birds, no wind, just the huff of hot air rising in gusts, like the earth exhaling in pain.
He didn't wait for orders. He turned the snowmobile around and headed toward the nearest ranger cabin. If the towers were down, he'd go door to door. Someone had to get out alive. Someone had to get out alive.
Field log, March 10th, 6:07 a.m. Partial breach confirmed. Surface deformation at Norris Basin is now visible. Ground uplift at 2.3 meters. We are by all definitions inside an active eruption window.
I've looped my server through the ham relay and encrypted the seismic data in a public archive. If anyone's left to read it, you'll know we tried.
Lena hadn't slept in 32 hours. Her eyes burned from ash irritation and caffeine. She'd have filled 2 notebooks with readings, patterns, code fragments. There were too many variables now. It was like trying to stop a freight train by drawing new maps. Norgor, Mosko Grunger.
Where's the press response package?
Still being polished, ma'am. Messaging remains tricky without triggering.
I don't care about tricky. I want controlled disclosure. Today, blame geothermal instability. Limited access only. If people die and we said nothing, that becomes the story.
Ma'am, you may no longer have control. Social media is already posting strange footage. One video shows trees falling in a line like something moving beneath them.
God help us. Honor Smallis.
In Bozeman, Maya Sloan loaded her car with satellite gear, a backup generator, and 6 USB sticks of everything she'd found. She had no clear plan, just one location, Yellowstone North Gate.
You want to bury this? Try burying me with it. Anyone receiving this is Dr. Lena Harrow at Yellowstone West Station. We are in pre-eruption phase. Ash emissions detected. Wildlife fleeing. If you are within 200 miles of the Caldera, evacuate now. Do not wait for an official order. There won't be one. There won't be one.
At 7:32 a.m., satellite array B7 recorded a thermal spike at layer 4 of the magma chamber. Moments later, a minor eruption event occurred, a vertical steam column breaking through old ground near Biscuit Basin. Tourists captured it on video. Their phones uploaded automatically. Within 10 minutes, hashtags were trending. Yellowstone blow ash rain. Is this the big one? Breaking news from Wyoming, where a minor geothermal explosion has occurred in Yellowstone National Park. Officials urge calm and are monitoring the situation closely. No injuries have been reported, though some park areas are being closed as a precaution. Pack the truck. Don't argue. You've got 15 minutes. I'll meet you at the east marker.
Dad, what's going on?
Just trust me. Go now. But it was too late to stay local. Roads were already choking with traffic. Ash fell heavier by the hour. Visibility dropped. Emergency services were nowhere. Everyone wanted out. No one knew where out still was.
It's too fast. We modeled weeks. We've got hours. It's already begun.
Yellowstone was no longer quiet. Steam geysers that hadn't erupted in years were blowing caps. Ground fissures spiderwebbed through the forest floor. Entire hillsides steamed, buckled, then fell in. Tourists thought it was a spectacle until the air became unbreathable. Goringar. Repeat, do not come into the park. We've got venting gas and land collapse near Biscuit Basin. Evacuate westbound and do not stop to take pictures. Idiots are filming it like a damn fireworks show. Orsur Koni Orthin Sice. At an overlooked trail, a family of 5 was overtaken by a sudden gas pocket. Footage posted later showed their final moments, coughing, stumbling, dropping their phones. Then silence. The video was flagged and removed, but it had already been shared over 2.3 million times.
March 10th, 08:22 a.m. Entered park perimeter. Light ashfall consistent with low-level phreatic eruptions. Locals fleeing in RVs, ATVs, roads gridlocked. National Guard not yet deployed. No official presence. No warning sirens. I repeat, there is no one in charge here. Magma chamber pressure has surpassed 170 megapaseka. We re-entering an accelerated venting cycle. If lateral fault lines crack, this will go pyroclastic.
President Elaine Weller stood behind bulletproof glass on the top floor of a Colorado emergency operations hub. She hadn't slept. She hadn't eaten. Below her, helicopters landed on rotation, evacuating those whose names had been pre-cleared. The list was classified. Most of the country wasn't on it.
Get the vice president out of D.C. now. Send her to Raven Rock. I'll stay here until the next update.
May a.m., the board recommends full command transition.
I don't run. Not yet.
Back in the field, Jack Tanner reached a ranger substation near Grant Village. It was already abandoned. Inside, a half-eaten sandwich, a chair tipped over, an empty rifle rack. No people, no radio contact, only the sound of something wet bubbling just beneath the floor. Jesus, the ground's gone soft. He stepped back slowly, watching the floor tiles ripple. Then the first one cracked. Then another. A hiss of boiling water shot upward through the broken seams. Jack bolted.
Final entry, March 10th, 9:01 a.m. If this is it, please know I tried. We all did. This is not just a volcano. It's a planet-level reset switch. And it's already been flipped.
At exactly 9:14 a.m., satellite imaging confirmed a major eruption event. The northeast sector of Yellowstone lifted 4 meters in under 10 seconds, then collapsed. The shockwave shattered trees for miles. A pyroclastic surge ignited old-growth forests in its path. Ash was propelled upward at 400 miles per hour, and for the first time in recorded history, Yellowstone screamed.
Remetkless.
The sound wasn't like thunder. It was lower, deeper, like the earth itself tearing open from the inside. The Yellowstone Caldera had erupted before millennia ago, 3 times, but this was the first time we heard it.
It breached. Oh God, it breached.
The monitoring trailer rocked on its foundations. Lena threw herself under the desk just as the eastern wall burst inward, ash and wind flooding the room. She held her breath, pulled her jacket over her face. Everything was noise, heat, then darkness.
Jack gunned the snowmobile full throttle as a cloud of ash rolled toward the tree line like a living wall. Birds plummeted from the sky mid-flight. A bear ran beside him for a full 30 seconds before collapsing. He didn't look back. Keep going, keep going. The engine coughed, choked, stalled. The ash had clogged the filter. Jack leapt off and ran. Over 12,000 feet above, a reconnaissance satellite captured the plume. It reached the stratosphere in just under 9 minutes. Live streams went black, power grids stuttered, weather across the Midwest began to shift. It had begun.
Maya crouched behind her car, watching what looked like snowfall, only heavier, grayer, and burning to the touch. Her Geiger counter clicked softly beside her. This isn't over. This is just the start. She opened her laptop and tethered her last satellite ping. Upload everything. Archive it. Blow the lid off. She hit send just as the first wave of tremors rolled through the valley. Her car rocked side to side. Distantly, she heard a mountain split. Give me numbers.
Initial surge, 20, maybe 30,000 dead. Infrastructure damage unknown. Plume projection exceeds pre-modeled limit. Ashfall zones now cover 8 states. Miami, we've lost the West.
Evacuate what's left. Activate food reserves. Ground civilian aircraft. And find Dr. Harrow. If she's alive, she's the only one who saw this coming.
Yellowstone had been called a park, a wonder, a geological curiosity. It was none of those now. It was the center of a new era, and for those still alive, survival would no longer be a matter of preparation but of sheer blind will. The Earth had spoken, and we had no language for its answer. Chapter 3, The Dead Zone.
On Winage Des.
March 10th, 10:32 a.m. The day the sky turned black. No sunlight, no radio, no help. The eruption had fractured more than just land. It had broken the illusion of safety. The survivors didn't know where they were headed. They only knew they had to move.
Swatter?
Lena Harrow woke beneath shattered paneling and broken glass. The air was thick with ash, fine, stinging, deadly. She pulled her scarf over her face and crawled toward what was once the equipment hatch.
Data stick backpack, come on. She found it. A single red drive still duct-taped under the console. The seismic record of the last 72 hours. If she died out here, this had to survive.
15 miles away, Jack Tanner reached the Firewatch cabin at Dunlap Ridge. It stood barely under a thick crust of ash. He forced the warp door open. Inside were 3 people. A seasonal ranger, a wildlife photographer, and a teenage backpacker in a Yellowstone hoodie. They stared at him like he'd stepped out of a grave. We've got no signal, no backup, no supplies. Closest town's 2 hours east on a normal day.
This ain't a normal day.
Is it true that the mountain blew?
Yeah, and it's not done yet. In Bozeman, Maya Sloan stepped into a grocery store that had become a war zone. Empty shelves, people screaming, one man bleeding from a broken bottle wound. A teenager kicked over an end cap of baby formula and ran. Outside, an alert siren howled for exactly 5 seconds, then died. Lord.
Internet's dead. Broadcast frozen. Only the satellite net's up, and just barely. But I got it out. I got it out.
Now I've got to get out too. The footage she leaked was already mirrored to darknet archives and amateur ham relays. Her voice, paired with the government evacuation lists, had made it onto 2 major platforms before the system failed. And then nothing. The blackout had begun.
How far has the cloud reached?
Chicago's reporting air quality at code red. Flights grounded in Denver, Salt Lake, Minneapolis. Crop contamination expected in less than 48 hours. Livestock already dying en masse.
Declare disaster status across all FEMA zones. Full military coordination. We were not talking rescue anymore. We were talking containment.
Martial law in the western third of the country would buy us time. 2 million citizens are in direct exposure range. Recommend temporary suspension of civil authority in zones 4 through 9.
We just became a divided country.
Back on the ridge, Jack gathered the 3 survivors. The kid had a sprained ankle. The photographer was asthmatic. The ranger had lost radio contact and hadn't eaten in a day. Jack opened a cabinet, found a single oxygen canister, a flare gun, and 6 protein bars. It wasn't enough. We head down, East Trail. We go as far as we can. If you fall behind, you get back up. There is no cavalry coming.
Lena used a broken ski pole as a walking stick. Her clothes were covered in soot. Her water bottle was half full. She had one goal: reach the old radio station north of Lake Butte. If the antenna still stood, she could broadcast the data. If not, well, then I die trying.
The ash cloud now blanketed 180,000 square miles. It moved like a tide, gray, choking, absolute. Under it, people fled in silence. There were no more sirens, no more orders, just footsteps, coughs, and the sound of a continent holding its breath.
Alling a cup or tremors.
By midday, the ash lay like wet cement. Knees buckled under it. Engines failed. It got into mouths, lungs, even under closed eyelids. In most of the western corridor, it was no longer a question of evacuation. It was about finding breathable space.
Maya ditched her car after the air filter seized. She tied a scarf around her face and wrapped her phone in foil, praying the backup GPS module might still function. She climbed a ridge near the old canyon wall and looked back at Bozeman. The city looked like it was sinking into gray molasses. No one's coming, not in time.
I warned them. I warned them at times your purr.
At the Dunlap Ridge outpost, Jack's group began descending through the East Trail half buried in soot. They carried makeshift cloth filters and one flashlight between them. He didn't tell them what he'd seen: bison crushed under fallen trees, old geysers spurting acidic sludge, dead silence on every ranger band. You good? Can feel my fingers. Could be shock. Keep moving. Oxygen drops fast out here. No breaks until we clear the basin rim.
What if there's nothing on the other side?
Then we keep walking anyway. Dr. Lena Harrow reached the base of the Northern Ridge Trail. The radio station was 2 miles away, but the road was gone. Not blocked. Gone. Swallowed by a mudslide that hadn't existed 20 minutes earlier. Gone.
Of course it is.
Fine. Overland it is. She began climbing, boots sliding, hands bloodied from sharp pumice. Every few yards, she had to stop and cough black mucus staining her sleeve. In her backpack, the red drive rattled with every step. A record of the end. A record of the end.
Meanwhile, at Fort Greely, President Weller faced the Joint Chiefs inside a subterranean chamber known as Room S9. Maps showed air currents, soil temperatures, and mortality curves. Most ended in red.
I want national airlift capabilities rerouted to hospitals, food hubs, and clean water depots. No more special extractions, not for donors, not for politicians. We save who we can. That's it.
Permission to activate Executive Succession Group 2?
Granted. If I don't make it through this, let history remember one thing. We didn't hide. Or don't make it through this.
But even as she spoke, the outer world was slipping away. By 1:45 p.m., satellites failed to penetrate the new ash ceiling. By 2 p.m., every airport west of Kansas City was shut down. By 2:70 p.m., the ash cloud reached Toronto. And by 2:30 p.m., Dr. Lena Harrow reached the broken base of the radio tower.
No. The tower lay twisted, sheared in half. The building, crushed beneath a fallen lodgepole pine. She dropped to her knees. The last working relay was gone. I came too late.
Fuller stewell strapped toward. By late afternoon, Yellowstone was indistinguishable from a moonscape. Ash several feet deep blanketed every surface. Steam vents hissed like serpents beneath the crust. There were no colors anymore, only shades of gray, and silence broken by coughing fits or cries.
Lena lay flat on her back, eyes shut tight, breathing shallow through her jacket collar. The radio tower was gone. Her body ached. The drive pressed against her spine like a cruel joke. But she wasn't dead, and that still meant something. You didn't come all this way to die in the dirt. Get up, Morgor.
Miles away, Jack's group crested the basin's eastern ridge just as the sky turned rust orange. The wind had shifted. Visibility opened slightly. What they saw made them stop walking. A town barely recognizable, collapsed roofs, smoke still curling from houses, dozens of burned-out vehicles pointing the same direction, away. Groove. This was where we were going. It was.
We were not going to make it, are we?
We don't stop, we just find another direction. At Fort Greely, President Weller stepped out onto the concrete helipad for the first time in hours. Ash fell like gray snow. She stared out at the pale horizon. Beyond it lay 20 states in disarray. The maps had become abstract, useless lines beneath an atmosphere that no longer obeyed forecasts.
Where does leadership end and survival begin? A question no manual had ever answered. March 10th, 5:06 p.m. I think I've reached a lookout east of the valley. Can see past the plume for the first time. Just a bit of sky, just blue barely there. Maya paused, hand shaking as she steadied the mic. If anyone finds this, just know we were warned. We didn't listen. And still some of us are walking.
In the new world, there would be no heroes, only those who endured long enough to witness it. The eruption was only the beginning. The ash would settle, but what followed would bury more than just the West. Chapter 4, Fallout. March 11th. The eruption had quieted. But silence didn't mean safety. The initial burst had taken lives in seconds. Now came the slower killers: air, thirst, cold, infection, madness.
Lena crouched beside a half-collapsed utility shack nestled against the rocks behind the radio tower. She'd almost missed it. It was camouflaged under layers of volcanic ash. The inside was intact, no gear, but tucked in the corner, a narrow battery box and a backup crank transmitter military surplus. Please, please work. She turned the crank. Nothing. Then a single green LED flickered.
It would take 10 minutes of cranking to send a 60-second message. Her hands were blistered, but she cranked. She had something to say.
This is Dr. Lena Harrow. Yellowstone eruption confirmed. Atmospheric breach. Ashfall crossing continental U.S. Evac not advised. Repeat, not advised. Shelter. Filter air. Ration water. You are not alone. We're still out here.
43 miles east, Jack Tanner and the 3 others reached the outer edge of the collapsed town of Elk Ridge. It was still warm, like the heat hadn't fully left. The silence felt wrong. Stay behind me, eyes open. Someone might still be here. Alive isn't always friendly. They passed a burned-out gas station, a faded American flag twisted in the dead wind. Inside, they found canned food and 2 bodies, self-inflicted, judging by the shotgun and note on the freezer.
We shouldn't be here.
Nowhere else is here. He took the food. Quietly, they kept moving. Nowhere else is here. In a flat in Edinburgh, Scotland, a university student watched Maya Sloan's leaked video on a mirrored site before it vanished. The words Phase Red scrolled across the screen, followed by evacuation protocols and elite-only lists. Her jaw clenched. She turned to her friends and whispered,
They let it happen. They left them.
By nightfall, protests had begun in 6 European cities. Markets plummeted, airlines suspended routes to North America, and across oceans, the world stopped pretending this was just an American disaster.
How bad?
Unfiltered air quality has dropped below survivable levels in 5 states. Reports of riots in Denver and Spokane. Canada's closed its borders. Mexico is sending troops to hold crossings at El Paso. We should establish perimeter zones, block movement. If the ash contaminates river systems out east, this spreads globally.
You re-suggesting quarantine?
Yes, ma'am. For what's left of the country to survive, we may need to sacrifice what's already gone. At the broken edge of the caldera, Lena sat in darkness. The transmission was sent. Her message now drifted skyward, bouncing through clouds and satellite fragments. She didn't know if anyone had heard it, but she knew she wasn't ready to give up. Go more.
We lost the system, but we didn't lose the truth.
Cover. By 6:30 p.m., the last light of day dimmed behind a veil of suspended ash. It didn't get dark like nightfall. It became gray, thick, unknowable. People stopped calling it ash. They began calling it fallout. We can't stay here. Jack stepped out of a collapsed drugstore, his arms full of gauze, antibiotics, and protein bars scavenged from what used to be an emergency aisle. The teenager sat against the wall, lips cracked, breathing fast. I can feel my feet. Are they frozen? No, but you were breathing too shallow. Slow it down. Sip, don't gulp. He handed over a small bottle of filtered water, one of 3 left. Inside what had once been the Elk Ridge Town Hall, Jack found something unexpected. A man, middle-aged, gray beard, alone, armed. You from the government? Nope. Park Service, we were trying to get out. There ain't no out anymore. You seen the rivers? They were dead. Fish came up floating. You were not escaping anything, just surviving what's left. Jack didn't argue, but he saw the man's eyes flicker toward the half-hidden box of canned goods behind him. People were becoming animals, or maybe they'd always been. Disaster just removed the costume. No, we're becoming animals.
Lena descended from the shack slowly, legs aching, throat raw. She was looking for higher ground, but every ridge led to more ash, more destruction. Then she heard something, a buzz, faint, low, repeating. She turned, stumbling toward it. At the base of an old fire tower, she found it, a small relay antenna, solar-powered. Still blinking, still active, still active. Oh my God, you're still alive. Or's your face.
Lena connected her data drive, typed in a handshake command. Seconds passed. Then response. Text only. Dr. Harrow, signal received, confirm location, emergency retrieval in planning, hold position. Her hands trembled as she typed. No retrieval, too late, just send the data forward, publish everything, let the world know. There was no reply, only a blinking cursor. Gong, gor, score.
Did we receive her signal?
Yes, data consistent with worst-case estimates. She was right. Our public model was too conservative. The next rupture line is Utah, then the quarantine perimeter moves east. National Guard in Colorado, Kansas, and Missouri must prepare for full hard stop lines.
You were asking me to wall off my own citizens.
Yes, ma am. Or watch 200 million die instead of 20. On a grainy backup feed, Maya Sloan's video resurfaced for the 5th time. Despite suppression, it spread via dark mesh networks, encrypted drives, and foreign relay sites. In the footage, she read off the names of elite evacuees. Then she said 3 words, "They left you." And for many watching, it was no longer about surviving nature. It was about surviving each other. Night settled like a tomb over the west. There were no stars, no moonlight, only ash clouds backlit by distant wildfires, pale orange veins cutting through black. In Elk Ridge, Jack Tanner sat on the floor of an abandoned sheriff's office, studying an outdated map. The red lines meant old evacuation routes. They were meaningless now, meaningless now. Too far east, the ash gets thinner, but the water's tainted. South, and we hit roads choked with the dead or the desperate. He looked up at the 3 faces staring at him, the teen, the photographer, the wounded seasonal ranger who hadn't spoken all day. Tomorrow we move northeast, high ridge country, less ash if the wind holds, but it's a gamble. I don't care where we just can't stay. Back at the comms relay, Lena lay in her sleeping bag inside the wrecked fire tower. She'd eaten 2 protein bars, drank half a liter of water. Her nose bled from dry air, her fingers cramped from typing, but her data was uploading slowly. Each ping from the relay was like a heartbeat, proof she was still connected to the world.
Journal entry, March 11th, 2217. Pressure dome data confirmed worst-case projections. Secondary chamber may be destabilizing. If it breaches, we'll be dealing with atmospheric cooling, soil sterilization, and sustained blackout conditions for years. This isn't just Yellowstone anymore. It's climate trauma, civilizational trauma.
Thousands of miles away in a refugee airbase outside Berlin, a UN Emergency Council played Lena's audio on loop. It translated poorly, but the numbers didn't need translating. One official murmured, "She's describing a global dust veil, like Toba, like Tambora, only faster, and with jet fuel." In the Colorado Command Center, President Weller sat alone with a handwritten letter. It was from a family of 4 stranded near Twin Falls, Idaho. The letter had been forwarded by a National Guard medic who defied orders to flee the quarantine line. The final lines read, "Please tell my daughters the sun will shine again, even if we never see it." She folded it carefully, placed it in her coat pocket.
We were never ready for this.
Meanwhile, Jack's group camped inside the Elk Ridge Library. They huddled around a fire pit built from bookshelves and shelving brackets. They shared a can of beans, 2 cough suppressants, and silence, until a noise, footsteps, slow, deliberate, outside the door. Get behind the desk, now. He drew the flare gun. Not ideal, but better than nothing. The door creaked. A figure appeared in the hallway, silhouetted by flickering firelight. Then it spoke. I don't want trouble. I got a kid with me. We saw your fire. It was a gamble. Let him in and risk being overrun. Turn him away and risk becoming the kind of people the world no longer needed. Jack stared, eyes tired. You armed? Only with a knife, I swear. Then come slow. Keep your hands where I can see 'em. No sudden moves. And so they made firelight space for 2 more strangers. Because the line between them and us was fading. For 2 more strangers.
Whatever happens next, I need someone to hear this. We are not just data points. We are not footnotes in geological history. We were here, we tried, and we mattered.
The Caldera had changed everything, but for now the survivors still breathed, still chose, still fought to be more than statistics. For now they endured. Chapter 5, Broken Lines. March 12th, 3 days after the rupture. The ash now covered more than 1 million square kilometers. The jet stream had taken it to Europe. Airlines shut down, crops withered, livestock suffocated. But the scariest thing wasn't the ash. It was the silence.
Come on, just finish the upload. Lena sat cross-legged in the tower's relay room, watching the progress bar freeze. 93. Then, nothing. The signal had gone. No, don't stall on me now. She checked power, rebooted the antenna. Nothing. Her last connection to the outside world gone.
Jack Tanner emerged from the makeshift shelter in the Elk Ridge Library. They'd let in 6 more people overnight, some with injuries, some armed, none trusting. The smell of smoke clung to everything, and there wasn't enough food left for breakfast. We rationed 2 cans. That's it. If anyone else comes in, we don't have enough. Then maybe it's time to stop letting people in.
We are people.
We don't turn anyone away who can still walk, but nobody eats for free. We don't turn anyone away. Tension grew fast. 2 men had already stolen food. The teenage boy hadn't spoken in hours, and the newcomer's kid, no one had seen her. On the interstate near Fort Collins, Maya Sloan walked beside an overturned semi-truck, the trailer door open, looted clean. She carried a pistol now. Untrained, unlicensed, loaded.
March 12th. The road to Denver's a graveyard. No fuel. No law. I passed a town called Harlan Ridge. Windows smashed, walls tagged with "We're on our own." Every town has a new rulebook now.
The sun hadn't shone in 72 hours. Ash blanketed car roofs like snow. Every breath tasted like coins.
If anyone's still broadcasting, check your file inbox. I sent everything. Names, documents, photos. Let the truth survive, even if I don't to guarantee.
At Fort Greeley, the emergency response room split into factions. The president's cabinet argued in circles. We have to deploy force. Quarantine breaches are rising, civilians are arming, towns are declaring independence from federal rule. Then crush them before it spreads. We lose control of the narrative and the people. We need foreign cooperation. Offer Europe joint survival zones.
We do both. Stabilize at home, coordinate abroad. But we don't use force unless we reforced.
At 9:18 a.m., seismic stations in Oregon and northern Utah recorded shallow rupture events, gas venting, ground splitting, minor landslides. They weren't a Yellowstone's aftershocks. They were new fractures. The Earth wasn't done.
This is how it starts. One rupture triggers the next. We call it fault sympathetic triggering. I'm no prophet, but I think we've kicked off something that won't end in our lifetime. One on the Woodagam.
Back in Elk Ridge, Jack held the flare gun again. Someone had taken their last water purifier cartridge. The teen claimed it, but Jack wasn't sure he believed him. If you were lying, someone out there is going to die from that. I didn't steal it. Maybe we vote, decide who stays, who doesn't tea. We were not animals, not yet. Four-steppery sang for Gore, 10:41 a.m. Wind returned to Yellowstone, not the healing kind. It carried ash from the northern crater basin like powdered bone. Anything uncovered was now coated again. We're house Skumor.
Lena wrapped her last thermal blanket around the relay unit. She had one more backup drive, but no working port to send it. The tower's solar rig was cracked. Her water tasted like charcoal. This is a tomb now, a recording booth for ghosts. She opened her notebook, writing one sentence over and over. We warned them. We warned them.
She recorded a new voice entry. No telemetry, no graphs, just words.
If you're hearing this, my name was Dr. Lena Harrow. I monitored the Yellowstone uplift for 3 years. I submitted reports, warnings, phase orange declarations, internal memos. They erased them. Because economy wins over geology. Because comfort beats science. Because nobody ever believes until the fire's already through the door. They erased them.
Back in Elk Ridge, Jack returned to the supply locker with a hammer in one hand and a folded map in the other. Someone had drawn a red X through the only marked water source within 2 miles. It meant someone had been there and didn't come back. We go together, armed. No one splits off alone anymore. We need to start thinking survival, not rescue. I am thinking survival. You want to make it out of here, then you follow rules. The stranger backed down. For now. But Jack knew that look. He'd seen it in Iraq. The look of someone deciding that the group is a threat, not a lifeline.
Maya crouched under a burned overpass beside an abandoned school bus. Someone had written, "Leave no one on the side" in red spray paint. The windows were shattered. Inside were food wrappers, empty inhalers, and a child's boot. She didn't go in. You want a quote for history? Here it is. We had warning, we had time. We chose marketing instead. She uploaded the file to a pocket server and walked on.
President Weller sat alone in the Executive Operations Annex. She had no makeup. Her hair was unwashed. Her voice had cracked earlier that morning during a broadcast. Her poll numbers didn't matter anymore. Neither did her approval rating. All that mattered was holding the line.
To those watching this, if you are still watching, I will not abandon this country, and I will not hide in a bunker. Aid is coming, but in the meantime, share what you have. Protect one another. Do not give in to fear. We have lost ground, but not soul.
The speech didn't go viral. There was no internet, but it was heard on a ham radio near Tulsa, on a salvaged satellite receiver outside Salt Lake, and on a scratchy old TV powered by a bicycle in rural Kansas. For 10 minutes, America heard its president speak like a person, and that was something.
Lena closed the notebook, stood, and looked east. No one was coming, but maybe someone was listening. But maybe someone least.
The lines were broken, but not everything had shattered. Not yet.
Navislin O'Quillant.
March 12th, 6:03 p.m. The sky had turned blood orange behind the smoke veil. There was no true sunset anymore, just the slow bleed from gray to black. Inside the Elk Ridge Library, the air was tight with tension. We were not going to make it if we keep feeding mouths that don't contribute.
They read people, not mouths.
People steal, lie. That kid, he took the filter. Don't pretend he didn't. I didn't, I swear. Enough. We settle this now or we fracture. He dropped the flare gun on the table. Only thing keeping order here is trust. If you break that, if you hoard or steal or put yourself above this group, you leave. No second chances. The group fell into silence. And then, slowly, the teen pulled a cracked plastic purifier cartridge from his jacket. Eyes went wide. I panicked. I thought if I held it back, I don't know. I didn't want to die. You won. But you don't get to make that choice for the rest of us. Jack took the cartridge and passed it to the photographer, who tucked it into the boiling rig. Water hissed. Steam rose. No one said another word. Lena Harrow made camp near the remains of a collapsed ranger hut. The relay had shorted, and her satellite ping had gone unanswered. But before it died, one final signal came through, an alphanumeric string. Not a name, a code, Bravo EXFIL 4. She didn't know what it meant, but she'd seen that prefix once in a Pentagon geodata dump. It meant an extraction team had been dispatched, somewhere, maybe even here.
Either they recoming, or they reburying what's left. Maya had found a storm shelter behind a Lutheran church south of Loveland. Inside were 4 people, a bucket of rainwater, and a child who hadn't spoken in 2 days. She gave them her last granola bar. I was a journalist before this. Now I'm just someone with shoes and no fever. Maybe that's enough.
And in a safe house 2 states away, a techie who mirrored Maya's drop assembled her footage into a bootable drive. He handwrote a note: "If you find this, the world still has truth. Use it wisely." He sealed it in a waterproof pouch and buried it beneath a mile marker, because the internet was dead. But stories could still travel.
We've received word of a second pressure dome in Oregon, similar to Yellowstone, but slower. We're not stopping a volcano, but we can stop the collapse of who we are.
We need to start drafting new constitutional terms: zone-based governance, resource triage.
We hold this country together, one ridge, one shelter, one radio ping at a time. If we lose our identity, then the eruption already won.
And so the fifth day closed with no victory, but no surrender. In ash-coated towns and broken shelters they endured. They fed one another, they shared stories, they held on, not to hope, but to each other. Chapter 6, Aftershocks. March 13th, 6 days after the breach. The ash clouds had settled over the Rockies like a death shroud, but the ground had not stilled, and neither had the people.
Lena awoke to the sound of voices not near, not local, radio voices. She scrambled to the relay tower, still offline, but her emergency scanner crackled with something faint. She turned the dial slowly, breath caught in her throat. S'more.
Harrow said it, word for word. We were not just data points. We matter. If you hear this, hold the line. Pokel.
They were quoting me. Someone heard it. She closed her eyes, hand over her mouth. Not rescue, but resonance.
Across Yellowstone, in the bombed-out town hall, Jack stared at the broken cabinet, their entire medical stash gone. And so was the man they'd taken in 2 nights earlier. He took everything, left the kid behind. That bastard played us. He said he was going to trade it for help. There's no help out there, only hunger with guns.
We should relock the supplies.
Then we know better than him, but he didn't sound convinced anymore. On the outskirts of Pueblo, Colorado, Maya Sloan squatted beneath a half-collapsed elementary school roof, reviewing fragments of government files she had stored locally. A folder she hadn't opened before, dated 2020. Top secret. She clicked the audio file. Full projection models show 14 magma expansion year on year. Estimated eruption likelihood in 15 years conservatively. Recommend redirection of predictive data under Project Silent Horizon.
They knew. 5 years ago. The file ended with a name, Ellis Cho, USGS Senior Advisor, the same man who had silenced Lena Harrow. Ellis Go.
In a sandbag bunker outside Kansas City, President Weller stared at a table of satellite maps and military logs. Something was wrong. 3 units west of Cheyenne hadn't checked in for 36 hours on Corn. They were not MIA, MAM. They were insubordinate. Broke command, claimed jurisdiction over Zone 7. They were calling themselves the Continental Reconstruction Corps.
Militia in uniform. Great. They were broadcasting on public bands, claiming to be the new U.S. authority west of the divide, or source war.
Yellowstone had erupted. Now the government was beginning to fracture. The ash didn't break the nation. People did. We can keep pretending this is going to get better. Then what do? We become the people we hoped would find us.
This is Dr. Lena Harrow. If you re-alive, share what you know, find one another. Don't wait for the old world to come back. Make the new one better. Gore?
It wasn't a plan, but it was a signal, and that for now was enough. By noon on March 13th, Yellowstone wasn't erupting anymore. It was bleeding, steam venting through collapsed terrain, gas poisoning the lower valleys, dead wildlife piled along riverbanks like forgotten offerings. But people were still moving east, mostly, desperate for anything not gray. We break into teams, 2 scouts, 2 defense. Everyone else guards the water rig. No one leaves without backup.
What about the sick? You saw how fast the old guy's lungs went.
We treat what we can. But if someone turns violent, we defend ourselves. We were not running anymore. In the remains of a trailer park outside Cheyenne, a group of survivors wearing stolen National Guard gear waved down a caravan of evacuees. They wore armbands stitched with CRC Continental Reconstruction Corps. One man resisted a search. They shot him in the leg, took his food, his wife, his truck. There were no news reports, no trials, only witnesses too scared to do anything but keep walking.
I want those bastards marked as enemy combatants. They fly my flag and take what they want? Not anymore.
Ma'am, that would pit us against armed Americans with supply lines. You'd be triggering civil war.
Then it's a war. I didn't start, but one I'm finishing.
Back inside her fire-damaged radio hut, Lena stared at a blinking cursor. No new contact, no reply to her last 5 messages. She didn't cry, she just started packing.
I'm headed south. Elevation drop means better oxygen, maybe even water. I'll leave this relay active, looping the logs. If anyone finds it, finish what I couldn't tee. Maya fled a back alley in Greeley, Colorado, after being chased by a scavenger gang. She'd made it to a public shelter barely. The shelter wasn't guarded. It wasn't safe. It was full, over 300 people, 1 generator, no medicine. A fight broke out at sundown. She hid behind a furnace and recorded everything. This isn't society anymore. This is heat, light, and fear, and whoever controls all 3 wins.
The ash cloud finally reached Europe in earnest. Crop scientists in Sweden declared a potential multi-season blackout scenario. Poland closed its airspace. France began evacuating their embassy staff in Washington. And Germany requested proof of U.S. governmental stability. They didn't get it.
This administration still functions. We still have power in 15 states. We are not a failed state. Then show it. Because if you don't, others will fill the vacuum. Ors more stru than magth.
March 13th ended with fewer sirens. Not because things had calmed, but because there were fewer people left to sound them. As night fell over what used to be Wyoming, survivors no longer asked if they'd make it out. They asked with who and at what cost. We were being watched. Jack stood at the edge of the old church-turned-shelter, hand resting on the flare gun, though it was now little more than a bluff. He'd seen the shape move behind the trucks. Not CRC, too quiet, but someone or something was testing their perimeter. Can we just leave? Leave and go where? We are the road now. Inside, the photographer and the others argued over how to ration the last few doses of antibiotics. The seasonal ranger was feverish, coughing blood. Someone suggested letting him go outside. Another suggested not waiting until he turned violent. No one wanted to say it out loud. We were not murdering the sick. If you want to draw that line, you draw it without me. Then he kills us all. The argument died with the next tremor, a deep, slow vibration under their feet. Books fell off shelves, a window cracked, no eruption, no window. But the ground had shifted again.
Aftershock duration, 11 seconds. Amplitude, sharp, followed by wave, not Yellowstone origin. Suspected, fault cascade. We've triggered a western plate imbalance. This may be the opening act for Oregon or the Sierras. Lena sat in an abandoned ranger tower, her hands covered in ash and her face lit by a flickering LED. She wrote not for scientists now, but for survivors. Poor seeds for. If you're rereading this or listening, know that the world didn't end. It changed, and we didn't change fast enough.
She left the data drive inside a Ziploc bag in the tower's radio locker, sealed, labeled, dated. Then she stood, slung her pack, and turned south. Gore. In Greeley, Maya Sloan found a retired teacher running a hidden aid hub beneath a shuttered school. No signs, no broadcasts, just clean water, notebooks, and one shortwave transmitter. They gave her soup, a blanket, a place to sleep.
There are still people who remember how to care. Maybe that's where this starts again. There are still people who remembering.
At Fort Greeley, President Weller stood before her last full command team. 8 people. That was all that remained of the operational cabinet. The rest had defected, died, or gone silent.
I want 3 things by tomorrow. 1. Send every working drone east to scout for unaccounted shelters. 2. Initiate radio broadcast loops of Lena Harrow's logs. And 3. Tell every foreign nation watching that we are not finished. We rewounded, not dead. And if they doubt that, let them try to take what's left.
The Earth had moved, the power lines had fallen, the maps were meaningless. But signals still traveled, and so did stories. And in the dark, some stories were worth surviving for. Chapter 7, Fault Lines.
Eneri Totoing.
March 14th, a week since the rupture. Time no longer mattered. There were only 2 phases now, before and after. He's gone, took the antibiotics, didn't even wait for the guy to die. Jack stood in the half-burned Elk Ridge church, staring at the empty bench where the fevered ranger had been lying. The man had passed during the night. Quiet, no sound, just gone. And so was their supply thief.
We should have posted a watch.
Then who gets sleep? No one answered. They buried the ranger behind the old school. No marker, just ash and a broken branch for a cross. By noon, the group split in 2. Half wanted to head east. The others, Jack's side, decided to stay. For now, Stonewall, I'm done running. We make a perimeter. We defend it. We don't let this place die like the rest. Far to the south, Lena Harrow reached a ridge overlooking the burned ruins of Gardner. Steam still rose in columns from below. But what caught her eye wasn't the smoke. It was color. Fresh vegetation, greener than anything she'd seen in days. She descended cautiously, boots sliding on pumice. At the base of the valley, she found what had once been a field research cabin. Still intact, stocked, abandoned. But someone had been there recently. A notebook sat open on the desk.
Secondary swell observed under Gallatin Range. Shallow magma intrusion pattern. Estimated surface breach, 10 to 12 days. She flipped the page. Do not alert federal channels. Cho. You son of a bitch.
In the converted school basement in Greeley, Maya Sloan adjusted a dusty mic stand. Beside her, the retired teacher nodded. Solar batteries full, signal stable. She clicked the switch.
This is Maya Sloan, independent journalist, broadcasting from Survivor Sector 4. If you were hearing this, Yellowstone was just the beginning. The government knew. I have proof. We are not sheep, and we do not consent to rule by the armed and the corrupt. She uploaded the data files as she spoke, anonymized, encoded.
Somewhere in eastern Colorado, a CRC lieutenant leaned back in a supply truck. He tapped his radio operator. Find that signal. She's our next example. Find that signal. At Fort Greeley, President Weller stood before a digital map highlighting CRC-controlled territory in red, nearly a third of Colorado, half of Idaho. They'd begun conscripting survivors to labor programs, a euphemism for forced construction and agricultural clearances. The press no longer existed, but phones still recorded. Footage had leaked, men beaten, children cuffed, towns renamed.
If I greenlight the drone strike, I kill Americans. If I don't, they keep taking more.
Permission to execute CRC HVT Alpha, codename Ford, awaits your go. A week ago, she was leading a superpower. Now she was weighing the moral weight of a single missile.
History will write this in ash.
It's an Balzingargd in your.
The world had grown quiet again. Not calm, just quiet. The quiet that comes before a decision is made, before someone chooses who lives, who runs, and who burns.
Lena flipped through the abandoned field notebook. So many entries, gas levels, magma expansion, cloud rise estimates, each more damning than the last, and then tucked in the back cover an envelope, unmarked. She opened it slowly. Inside, a USB stick and a note. If I disappear, bury this or broadcast it. Your call. EC. Ellis Cho left this? After silencing me?
She plugged the drive into the solar rig and played the only file. Lena, if you're hearing this, I was wrong. They forced it. The funding, the deferral orders, the media spin. I wanted to shut the place down last year, but they reminded me I had a pension and a family. The Gallatin Chamber's worse than the Caldera. It's closer to fault lines. If it ruptures, it won't just be Yellowstone. It'll be a chain reaction, Cascades, Sierra Nevada, a West Coast detonation.
I warned them, and they buried it. But he warned them too. They buried him too.
In Greeley, Maya noticed it first lights flickering, a soft hum, interference in the speaker. Then, a voice through the shortwave. Unknown broadcast source, you're in violation of perimeter frequency 72.8. Power down and await retrieval.
They found me. She looked at the teacher. He nodded once and tossed her a backpack with a pre-rigged drive.
Take the south tunnel, then ditch it. We'll buy you 5 minutes. She hesitated, then ran. Behind her, the generator popped and hissed as someone hit the door with a crowbar. She didn't look back. Elsewhere, a drone circled over the Colorado plains. Below it, an armored CRC transport convoy carrying HVT Alpha callsign Ford. Inside a command bunker, President Weller stared at the screen. Target locked. Estimated civilian casualties, 3.
My orders? Do it.
3 seconds later, a Reaper drone dropped a 100-pound laser-guided missile into the lead vehicle. The flash lit up the prairie. Metal twisted, voices screamed, and a line of red armbands went silent. The war for survival had become something else. Now it was a reckoning. March 14th ended with fire. And something worse, retaliation. The CRC convoy never made its destination. The president's order killed their leader, but it didn't kill the idea. It made him a martyr. Attention survivors. The U.S. regime just declared war on its own. We are no longer part of their union. We are sovereign, and if you side with them, you will burn with them. The message was broadcast across every scavenged tower west of Kansas. In some places, it was met with silence. In others, cheers, and in a few places still clinging to law gunfire. They were not just thugs anymore. They think they read the new government.
If they come here, what do we do? Jack didn't answer right away. He just reloaded the flare gun with the last shell. It was more for show than threat now.
We hold the line, same as always. At the ridge shelter, Lena sat with Cho's data drive open. She knew it couldn't be buried again, so she made her choice. She opened a diagnostic menu, tied the rig into the backup solar node, and set the system to loop every recorded file she had. Hers. Everything.
If you re out there, this is everything. Proof, data, confessions. The volcano was never the real disaster. We were.
Maya reached a derailed freight line near Fort Morgan. She took shelter in a signal tower with 3 others, 2 teenagers with a rusted shotgun and a woman with an injured leg. None of them asked questions. They just shared heat, passed water, and listened to the weak radio loop.
She did it. She got through. Lena's voice, carried on dust-filled airwaves, now reached as far as Maine.
In D.C., a pirate broadcaster known only as Echo 12 patched the loop into their surviving meshnet. Within 12 hours, fragments of the truth reappeared on screens, burned-in subtitles over rerouted news feeds. One message blinked across the bottom of a weather satellite. They knew. She warned them. Spread it. Spread it.
Patch me into the next broadcast. If Lena's the voice of truth, I'll be the one who finally listens. On Wing of 4.
The Earth had ruptured, the Union had splintered, and still the truth was moving faster than fear. Because when systems fail, stories become survival. Chapter 8, The Message. March 15th. The day began with voices, not explosions, not tremors, just voices. Across radio towers, emergency frequencies, even hijacked gas station screens, her voice. Dr. Lena Harrow, the scientist they'd silenced, the woman they'd buried, now unburied, amplified.
We are not just data points. We mattered. And if you were hearing this, so do you. We mattered.
Survivors clung to the signal like heat. For some, it was proof the world hadn't ended. For others, a target. That's her. That's Lena.
She's alive, but not everyone in the church agreed.
That message, that's how they'll find us. No more map message? At 9:17 a.m., a CRC scout team breached the town perimeter. 3 men, 1 drone, 1 signal tracker. They didn't knock. They opened fire.
Glass shattered. Screams. Jack returned fire with the only loaded weapon they had, an old bolt rifle. He hit one. The others ducked, returned fire, and pulled back. They weren't expecting resistance. Geschlossmänner.
We don't run, we hold. 30 miles away, Maya Sloan helped splice a backup transmitter into the municipal grid using stolen CRC parts. The teachers' network had grown now 4 bunkers, 3 vans, and a mobile solar hub. They were planning something unheard of, a rolling broadcast through every remaining city east of the divide. One problem, someone in the circle wasn't who they claimed to be. They were planning something unheard of.
Where's Carla? She was guarding the main switch.
Yuri surrounded. Surrender the files now. A click, a gun. A gun. CRC had gotten in, not just through force, through trust. The network's hub fried in the first EMP blast.
We underestimated the Earth. We underestimated ourselves. But Yuri's still here, and so am I. This is President Elaine Weller. For too long, we spoke with silence. Today, we speak with truth. She nodded to the tech. The loop shifted. Lena's voice continued beside hers. This was never about lava or ash. It was about ignoring the signs. We hear them now, and we refuse to stay silent.
The broadcast lasted 12 minutes. It was picked up in Michigan, Quebec, Greenland, even London. For a moment, one moment, the world turned toward a common voice. Then the mountains spoke. Mount Hood, dormant for centuries. It didn't erupt, not yet, but it coughed. A seismic shock, a plume of sulfur, and a crack running down its southern slope. But it coughed.
Oh God, it's happening again. Ennesorgem true folks.
The fault lines weren't done. The message had spread. Now came the price. The first tremor under Mount Hood was minor 2.3 on the Richter scale. The second wasn't T, 4.9, then 5.4. The snowcap cracked like glass.
New magma swell under Hood's east flank. Seismic pattern matches pre-breach Yellowstone. If it ruptures, the entire Pacific Northwest corridor from Bend to Seattle goes into ecological lockdown.
The West had become a domino line of volcanic tension. One goes, then the next, and then what's left? What's left?
Donna, speak. Don't breathe too loud.
2 CRC agents moved through the building above them. Boots, radios, orders. They were hunting files, not people, but people were inconvenient witnesses.
Hard drives, solar rigs, radio maps, kill the rest. But Maya had learned from the best. She pulled the child into an access shaft, left behind a looped radio beacon and the scent of burned cloth. By the time the CRC broke into the room, she was gone, looped burned claw. In Elk Ridge, Jack and his group waited for the next attack, but none came. Only a man, alone, unarmed, wearing a surgical mask and dragging a white flag made of a torn tarp. Move and I drop you. I'm not CRC. I'm not armed. I'm a medic. I heard the broadcast. I want in. Jack didn't trust him, but the teen did, and they had wounded. So against every instinct honed in war, Jack let him in. Lena climbed a ridge above the Gardner Basin to reactivate a beacon tower last used during a 2012 wildfire. Its battery had exploded, but the antenna was still intact. She spliced the wires with stolen drone copper and a salvaged USB interface, wired it straight into her pack's solar storage.
This is Lena Harrow. I am alive. This is not just my voice. It's yours. Everyone who warned, everyone who tried, everyone who refused to disappear.
In Fort Greely, President Weller stood in the war room, watching new heat maps populate across the Pacific Northwest. 7 minor quakes, 2 sulfuric gas emissions, 1 livestock collapse zone outside Portland.
We can't evacuate that many, Mayam, not without pulling the Eastern Aid Fleet. Then we don't evacuate. We instruct, we relay, we tell the damn truth this time.
In a world where power had gone dark, the only light left was signal. Lena's voice, Maya's truth, Jack's line, Weller's choice, and somewhere beneath Mount Hood, the earth waited. By nightfall, Lena Harrow's message had reached more than survivors. It had reached former National Guard units, scattered paramedics, rogue journalists, and one unexpected recipient, a Russian Arctic science vessel, drifting near the Alaskan coast. Repeat this, Lena Harrow. She is alive. We have picked up loop. We are rebroadcasting. She is alive. The irony wasn't lost on anyone still listening. The United States had fractured, and its most stable voice was echoing through foreign relays.
We all laughed about the end of the world. We made shows, jokes, charts. But the truth is, it didn't come with fire. It came with silence. And silence is a choice.
At the Elk Ridge shelter, Jack prepared for the worst. The medic, Thomas, had proven real, saved the photographer's infected foot, stabilized the teen's breathing. But now a new worry surfaced. Food. They had 4 meals left. 7 people. And one unspoken option. There's a National Guard depot 3 days east. Or at least there was one.
If we leave, this place dies. If we stay, we die.
At 6:42 p.m., a CRC drone hovered over the ridge. Jack took it down with a slingshot and a wrench. It was amateur hour now, but for survivors, it was enough.
I'm running out of storage and power, but not words. Tell the truth. Even if it's late, even if it's ignored, even if it gets you killed.
Maya's next transmission was brief, just her voice reading names. Names from the FEMA list. Names from the classified evac manifest. Names of those who got out when the rest were told to stay.
You want a reckoning? Start with the ones who fled the moment the wind changed.
At Fort Greely, President Weller played the list aloud in the war room. No one interrupted. A few left, ashamed, silent. But she stayed. But she stayed.
Let the world hear it. We all need to remember who turned away. Let the world hear it.
That night, the clouds shifted. Not cleared, never cleared, but thinned. Enough to see one faint star. Enough to believe that the earth had not yet claimed everything.
If you're out there, keep listening. I'll keep talking, as long as the wind carries my voice. Chapter 9, The Divide.
Sexually in.
March 16th, 9 days since the rupture. The world hadn't ended. It had split. Not just physically across fault lines and ash walls, but philosophically. What was left wasn't unity. It was sides. Attention all sovereign zones. Dr. Lena Harrow is a threat to continental security. Her transmissions contain falsified panic data. Any survivor aiding her will be treated as a hostile insurgent. It wasn't a declaration of war, it was a manhunt. And the bounty, 100 gallons of fuel, 3 crates of MREs, and satellite access for a week. Oh.
They finally noticed me. Took long enough. She paused the loop, considered deleting everything. Instead, she added one more entry. If you were thinking of turning me in, ask yourself, what did they offer you for staying silent? Would Gersma turning me in, ask yourself.
At Fort Greely, President Weller reviewed a secret map, not of quakes or fires of governors, those still loyal, those who gone dark, and those who were negotiating with CRC behind closed doors.
Set the meet, remote only, secure channel, northern server, handshakes only. If they say no, then we know who's already chosen collapse.
Meanwhile, in Montana, Jack's group reached the perimeter of the National Guard depot. Fences broken, signs scorched, vehicles overturned like toys, but someone had left fresh tire tracks. Fan out, quiet, eyes on hands, we don't assume friend or foe. Inside the depot's cafeteria, 2 survivors, one unconscious, the other armed, starving, and pointing a rifle at the door.
You were not CRC.
Only thing we were loyal to is breath. A tense standoff, then a lowering of the rifle, then water, then stories. They had been guards, abandoned after the first eruption, now protecting the last working freezer in the state.
You kept food frozen? 1 unit. Solar. Cold truth never mattered so much.
Maya's signal kept moving west, 1 solar repeater at a time. A group of ex-paramedics in Omaha played her latest log-on loop, a 30-second audio piece titled "Don't Let Them Bury You Twice." Gore.
You survived the ash, the collapse, the silence. Don't let them take your story too.
The phrase became graffiti, a patch on jackets, a whispered slogan in blackout zones. Don't let them bury you twice.
Lena stood at a ridge near Mount Hood's south face. A visible heat shimmer distorted the air. She had 10 minutes, maybe less.
A message appeared on her hacked screen. From President Weller, broadcast with me, one last time. Lena stared, then slung her bag, and turned not away from the volcano but toward it. Chapter 10. The Last Transmission. Eruption.
March 17th, day 10. The planet didn't care, but the people did, and that somehow made it matter.
This is Dr. Lena Harrow. I'm halfway up Mount Hood's southern ridge. There's no one behind me, and I think this will be my last recording.
The beacon rig weighed 20 pounds. The air burned with acidic chill, and her oxygen mask leaked. But the repeater tower was visible now, twisted but upright. If she could reach it, she could broadcast high enough to blanket both coasts.
I don't know what world this will reach, but it deserves a voice, even if it's breaking.
At Fort Greely, President Weller waited in front of a makeshift desk. No flag, no script, just a screen, split into two feeds, her face on one, Lena's signal on the other. Cornel core.
To anyone still listening, this isn't a government broadcast. This is two people asking you not to give up.
Elk Ridge was under siege. CRC convoys had found the outer perimeter. Jack's group dug in with tripwires, signal flares, and scavenged rifles. They were outnumbered, but not outwilled. This is the end of the map. But it's not the end of us. We're not the end of us.
Do I get to shoot first?
Maya Sloan stood at the edge of a collapsed overpass near Denver. The repeater drone she'd rebuilt hovered at her side. She uploaded every file she had. Footage of CRC violence, Weller's first confessions, the evacuation list, Lena's entire archive. She pressed send.
I was never here to survive it. I was here to witness it. The drone took off. She smiled, then turned to run. Gunfire followed. She didn't stop. The drone took off.
In bunkers, basements, caves, forests, people gathered around battery radios, old tablets, solar screens, and they heard it. The voice of a scientist, halfway up a volcano. The voice of a leader, admitting the truth. The voice of a journalist, naming names. The voice of a ranger, holding a line.
We ignored the earth. It screamed. Now we listen. Let this not be the end. Let it be the beginning. History isn't what's written. It's what survives. Don't let them bury you twice. And Ongorn.
Lena reached the summit. She connected the cable. The antenna hissed to life. Her knees gave out, but the light blinked green.
It's yours now. Ours before.
They called it a super eruption. They called it collapse. But in the end, it was something simpler. A warning, and maybe, just maybe, an answer.
Signal detected. Sync established. Data relay active. Epilogue 6 months later.
Modest Norgort board. 6 months after the eruption, the maps were still wrong. Rivers had changed course. Cities had no names. States had no borders, only stories. And in the place where Yellowstone once breathed, there was only stone. Cracked, silent, cooling. They called it the Ash Divide now, a broken stretch of North America separating what collapsed from what continued. Reporting live from east of the divide, still no confirmation of CRC activity in this zone. Aid trucks reached Idaho border, 2 new repeater towers active. President Elaine Weller never returned to D.C. She ruled from a repurposed oil rig off the coast of Maine now called Liberty Base 1. Every month, she sent a new message. Low-tech, voice-only, honest. Some ignored them, some traded them for supplies, but some remembered.
If you can hear this, don't wait for rescue. Be the reason someone else survives.
Maya Sloan was last seen in Wyoming, riding west in a scavenged snowmobile. Her drone footage resurfaced months later, compiled, subtitled, remixed into a 30-minute survival doc. The title, Don Let Them Bury You Twice. Jack never left Elk Ridge. He rebuilt it, one cabin at a time, one trust at a time. Visitors were welcome, liars were not. Truth is the toll. He hung it above the entrance gate. No one dared steal it. And Lena? Some say she died on Mount Hood, Others claim to have heard her voice on newer bands, encoded deep into the meshnet, a whisper on repeat. Not pleading, not warning, just there.
This is not the end. Not if you were still listening. This is a listening.
The caldera had collapsed, but the voice still carried the end. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, ring the bell, and tell your friends about my listening library.